took a walk around the neighborhood, feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Hey, feeling good, like I should. Went and took a walk around the neighborhood, feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
I live my life to the limit, where I'm at the end of myself. I see the edge, but I know below me your love is waiting to catch. I'm falling into you, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose, so can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, alright. The rush I felt in the free fall, as I lost control of my life. Jesus, I found that you've always had me. Your love is never in doubt. I wanna love you like you love me. I wanna love you like you love me. I'm falling into you, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose, so can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, alright. I wanna love you like you love me. I wanna love you like you love me. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm falling into you, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do, yeah. I've got nothing to lose, so can't stop, won't stop falling into you. My God, oh my God, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose, so can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, alright, I'm falling into you. I'm falling into you, my God. I'm falling into you.
Good morning, everyone. We're so grateful that you're here today. Got a couple quick announcements I want to make sure that you hear. There's a few good things going on at Waypoint right now. One of them is the Mission Pancake Sunday that is next Sunday. And that's just an opportunity. Many of you have probably seen that when we do like kind of our missions fundraiser and people are out there eating pancakes and sausage. That is just, that's going to be after first service and after second. So if you're like, man, I'm hungry. In fact, don't even eat breakfast that morning. What am I saying? If I'm come hungry and go out there and eat some pancakes. Always a great time. Also, Women's Gathering is coming up this Tuesday at Hacienda. Now, I always feel like I hear mixed emotions about Hacienda. Some people, Luis, say that it's just not authentic enough. But I really don't care because the chips and salsa and ranch are the best things I've ever had. So if you don't like Hacienda, don't give me the it's not authentic enough. You're not authentic enough. I love Hacienda. It's so good. So if you're a woman and you want to be at Hacienda this Tuesday night, you should be there because it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll get to eat chips and salsa. Also want to let you know that the nursery is now open for both services. Obviously, when COVID took place and all the restrictions and some of the transitions, we now have both nurseries open, so that's very exciting. So if you have young kids and you're like, or a baby, you're like, I need the nursery to be open. Both services is now. Lastly, Blair's been doing a parenting series. It's been very eye-opening. But we want to take that even a step further. And so we've been having a lot of conversations about what it could look like to do a parenting workshop. And we want to provide a parenting workshop on the 14th, next Sunday. So we want to give you an opportunity to be a part of a more intimate setting. If you have questions, or there's going to be people that will be sharing stories and giving advice, just different opportunities for people to hear more. What we want to do when it comes to parenting is really, you've heard it before, it takes a village, and it really does. It's about coming together and saying, hey, you guys have walked through this, or you guys are walking through this as parents. What are some tips, or what's some advice? I find myself asking that all the time. Because I want people to be able to speak into my life so I can give my kids the best opportunity. And we want that for you guys as well. So that's going to be next Sunday. You can sign up on Planning Center. But I would really encourage you that if you have kids and you're interested in that, please take advantage of that opportunity. And so we're excited to be able to do that. Why don't you stand and we'll kick the service off.
Come on. to see. You are light, you are light. When the darkness closes in, you are hope, you are hope. You have covered all my sin. You are peace, you are peace. When my fear is crippling, you are true, you are true. Even in my wandering, you are joy, you are joy. You're the reason that I sing. You are life, you are life. In you death is lost its sting. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world forever reign. You are more, you are more than my words will ever say. You are Lord, you are Lord. All creation will proclaim that you are here, you are here. In your presence I'm made whole. You are God, you are God. Of all else I'm letting go. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world forever reign. I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world forever reign. Not a sin, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. Not a sin, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing. No other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing. No other name. Jesus, Jesus. No, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world forever reign. I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your
thank you so much that you're a God that loves and forgives and gives us the opportunity to run to you. I thank you for that opportunity, God, the opportunity to come to you every morning and every night with whatever problems are on our shoulders, and we can come to you and say, God, it's a lot, please take this off me. And above all, you meet us wherever we are. I thank you for that, God. You're so good. We love you. And all those people said, amen. Friends, you guys sound awesome. It is so cool to worship with you. Before you guys take a seat, can you please turn to someone around you, maybe a few seats back, say hi, greet them, then take a seat.
I'm so insecure, I think that I'll die before I drink. And I'm so caught up in the news of who likes me and who hates you. And I'm so tired that I might quit my job, start a new life. And they all be so disappointed, cause who I am if not exploited. And I'm so sick of 17, I'm over this teenage dream. If someone tells me one more time, enjoy your youth, I'm gonna cry. And I don't stick up for myself, I'm anxious and nothing can help. And I wish I'd done this before, and I wish people liked me more. All I did was try my best, that's the kind of things I get. I'm relentlessly upset. They say these are the golden years, but I wish I could disappear. Ego crush is so severe, man, it's brutal out here. I feel like no one wants me, and I hate the way I'm perceived. I only have 2 real friends, and lately I'm a nervous wreck, cause I love people I don't like, and I hate every song I write. And I'm not cool, and I'm not smart, and I can't even parallel park. All I did was try my best, it's the kind of things I get. I'm relentlessly upset. They say these are the golden years, but I wish I could disappear. Ego crush is so severe, man, it's brutal out here. Got a broken ego, broken heart. Man, I don't even know where to start.
You guys did much better than the first service. They weren't sure if they should clap to a song like that. They were a little froze out there. They're like, is this okay? Corinne's 19. That song was written by a 17-year-old, and she wrote it believing that it would express to people what she thinks the people in her age category are going through right now. You would have a hard time if you went and looked at the data out there, even had just simple conversations with a bunch of kids. You would have a hard time believing that anxiety wasn't a significant problem and that song just nailed it. So I'm planning to talk about that today. And usually once or twice a year, when I come into a message, I'll have a sense of dread. Not because I didn't prepare, I'm prepared. Not because I don't want to say what I'm about to say, I want to say it. There's just so many opportunities for things to be misunderstood. You could cherry pick one line that I said here and not attach it to the rest of it and take something really out of context. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to listen to the whole thing. Because you could argue, based on the numbers, that this problem of anxiety is happening in the middle school and high school age ranges right now. But based on the stuff that I've seen, it's much broader than that right now. I was stunned to find out that counselors are seeing many, not a few, many elementary age kids down as low as 7 years old who are coming to them with unmanageable anxiety. So I want to talk about it. And I'm going to present to you some truths that I think are right on. And I hope you'll listen to that, because on top of that, I'm also going to give you some commentary and some opinion. And you might get stuck on the opinion stuff and think, man, I don't like what he just said there, or I would say it differently. And just don't throw the truth out in that process. Accept that, hey, this could be important for me to find a way to have a discussion with either my kids or some kid that I'm connected to or I care about, because you do not have to go far for you to find people who are feeling anxious in our world. I think there are reasons for it. I think there are reasons where it's much bigger than just high school and middle school and elementary even. But this morning we're going to talk about it, because I actually think it's have you ever heard the term a gateway drug? There's a lot of people who would write about that and say gateway drugs don't exist. I think it's baloney. I think they absolutely do. I think what happens is you start with a drug that's easily accessible, that's culturally acceptable, and you use that for a while. And so people are doing that with alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana. And after a while, that buzz of it starts to wear off, and so you look for something else, and it becomes a gateway for you to try something like heroin. And people go down those paths and destroy their lives. Anxiety is a gateway feeling. It opens up your life, if it goes unchecked, into things that are super destructive. You can become suicidal, depressed. You can freeze up and not be able to make any decisions and move forward with life. It has all kinds of debilitating effects, filling your life with doubt about everything and anything that you might do. And it's so prevalent in our culture right now. And so, what are we going to do about it? Well, I want to have a conversation. And I got to this. This morning was going to be about one of these ideas that I'm going to talk about. And as I got into it, I just felt like I was just picking a scab. I wasn't really getting at the big thing. And I needed to broaden my perspective a little bit. And so I sat down and I decided I would make a list. I would make a list of what I thought was driving anxiety in our culture right now. And I started recalling conversations I had with students. I'd had conversations with volleyball team players about some things. I recalled conversations with Austin and Mitchell about things that they had been seeing. I recalled some stuff that Melissa had been observing with students. I put it all on the table, and I just started kind of churning through it. And I made a list of 3 things that I thought might be behind all of this anxiety that we see. And then I went and I started looking for studies. I started looking for people who were in the midst of counseling all of these people. I started reading a ton. And at the end of that, I had 4 on my list. There was one that I knew was part of it. I did not know how many people would have pointed to that and said, no, we have to pay attention to this. So it's going to yield a mention as well. I want to talk about 4 drivers. And the goal of this, listen carefully, the goal of this is not to place blame on something. I'm going to talk about sources that some of this stuff comes from. It's not to issue blame, because what happens so often when you can blame something, then you don't have to think or worry about it. You think, I can just avoid that and it'll be fine. No, there are underlying issues that we need to address. And where the source that's coming from right now might not be the source that impacts the person that you love or care about. So the goal isn't to assign some sort of blame. In some cases, people just get defensive if they feel like they're part of the blame. That's not it. I'm doing this because I'm hoping that you can start having conversations with each other about this kind of stuff. And I'm risking doing this in a clunky way where I could be misunderstood because I think it's better than the silence. That's it. So I'm going to kick the dust up. We're going to see what comes out, and we're going to go from there. But I want to talk about four things that I think are currently driving levels of anxiety in people in our culture. It's showing up in a significant way in our teens, middle school, and youth, all the way down through elementary. But it's happening all over the place, okay? Driver number one, there seems to be an intense pressure to be perfect. There seems to be an intense pressure to be perfect, which is difficult at best because your chances of being perfect are nil. It's never going to happen. And so if you set your goal at being perfect, any little small thing that comes along that reminds you that you aren't or you might not be able to be creates anxiety in that person's heart. This is my goal. This is what I'm going to pursue. I want this. And so I ask myself, well, where did this come from? Some of these things have been around for a long time. They're just coming out in different ways right now. So I think some of this has come from the media. It's always been there. Images, self-image stuff, how you look, all of that sort of stuff. It's really easy for you to get access to it right now, but that stuff is driving some of this stuff. I want to be perfect like so-and-so. There's stuff going on with schooling right now that seems to be yielding like this intense pressure to achieve some level of perfection. Social media is not helping this either, okay? So here's what I want to do, though. I want to give you an example that I read about in a lot of people address this. And it's kind of a logic trail that you kind of got to go down. And I think I can remember it. And I'm going to walk you through what a lot of students are thinking right now, that a lot of people are counseling students who are thinking this right now. And so we're just going to use a really practical example. I need to get a great GPA in school. I need to have that great GPA to get to the right college. I need to get to the right college so that I can get the training for the right career. I need the right career if I'm going to be happy and successful in life. Now, listen, I think there's all kinds of things wrong with that thing. The whole logic trail is all messed up. But if you just parked yourself at the first two, where kids are right now, there is an overwhelming sense that if I pursue this and I can't reach the goal of having this best GPA, that I'll be crippled. Now here's the question. Should you try to get the best grades that you can possibly get? I think so. But I think your motive matters. And if your motive at coming at those grades right now is to achieve some level of perfection because of this impact on your life at a later date, I would like to offer you a different motive. This is in Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Oddly enough, you can be a human master. You can enslave yourself. You could come up with this idea that you have to be perfect, and then you drive yourself to do it. And God says, listen, I'd rather that you spent your time and energy trying to honor and please me. This is good news, by the way, because you weren't accepted by God because you were perfect. In fact, you needed Him because you weren't. And he came to your rescue not because you had some level of perfection in your life. And so if you still don't have some perfection now, it's not going to cause you harm. In fact, your failure ends up being something that God can work with because he's used to it. So you do your best with all your heart, and if you fail, you learn. Why? Because I have God in my corner who is helping me work through all of this. And I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to worry about that being the goal. And when I run into failure, I look at it as an opportunity for me to learn more. This seems insane, but this is exactly what Paul did. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul actually says, hey, I'm going to tell you something that Jesus said to me, which is kind of funny because he never met Jesus. So this must have happened in a vision of some sort. But listen, this is what he says. He says, he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. You want some perfection? Admit that you can't be. Accept that there's some weakness that you have. And I come to your aid. Like, I'm the one who picks you up. I'm the one who helps you. In fact, he goes on and says in the end of verse 12 here, therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness so that Christ's power may rest on me. I'm going to be excited about these opportunities for when I fail, for when I struggle. Why? Because it is an opportunity for God to show up in my life in a significant way that I could say, this isn't happening except for the fact that God carried me right now. And we become not afraid of the struggle, we embrace it because God becomes part of our journey. That whole idea that you would embrace struggle, deal with failure in a way where you see it as positive is going out the window with this idea of perfection. We have a little kids volleyball camp that we do every year. We bring kindergarten all the way through 6th grade in, and volleyball is a hard game. Even people who've been playing it forever can't pass the ball exactly where they want it to go all the time. It's difficult. So you have to try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. It's just the process that you go through. And we know that these young kids don't have those skills yet, so we want to expose them to that. And we do a lot of simple things to make it as easy as possible so that they can have a little success. And we've got this little girl, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd grade. She's young. She's standing facing a wall, and we gave them all balls, and we're asking them just to pass the ball back and forth from the wall. It's going to go sideways. They're going to have to get it, but they're not going to have to run far. It's just a light, easy pass. She passes the first ball. It doesn't go well. She's upset. She tries it one more time, passes the ball. It doesn't go well. She folds onto the ground and starts bawling. I'm not talking about simple crying where somebody's upset. I'm talking brokenhearted, I'm destroyed kind of moment. So I went over there, and I want her to have a little success. This is hard. I get it. And so I'm trying to help her do this and show her what she has to do and just to encourage her that you just got to keep doing it. And she was not having any of it. If she couldn't do it the way it was meant to be done right now, she was done. And she was so frustrated that she gave up. I'm talking to high schoolers who feel the same way about different things that they try in life. I tried it. I wasn't immediately successful, so I stopped. Do you understand that anything that you want to do that's going to require like some greatness in life is going to require you to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail and get better? Everything. Some of the most important decisions I've made in my life have come after failures I've made. Failures I've made as a parent. I wish I had not made the choice that I made, but I did, and then I had to make a different one. Failures with my wife. with treating her with disrespect, the way she didn't deserve to be treated. And then I had to go back and find a way to fix that and make better decisions moving forward. Decisions I've made as a leader at Waypoint. I made big errors that I wish I could take that one back. I wish I had a do-over, that I could just go back. But instead, what you do is you face that moment of failure. And instead of folding onto the ground in a heap and going, I can't do it because I can't be perfect, you get up and try again. Not once did I go, oh, I'm such a failure at this parenting thing, I should probably unload these kids. Anybody want one? Right? Let's get them off my hands. I'm not doing a good job. Oh, I've failed as a marriage. I made a big mistake. Maybe we should be divorced. Maybe this should end right here. Like that didn't happen. And yet this idea of perfection is causing a lot of people to go halfway down the road on things that they could try and discover that maybe they're okay at, but they don't. And it's happening in all kinds of areas of their life. Can I just warn you about this? Can I just put this thought in your head? If you're a person who has allowed perfection into your life, and it's like directing how you do things, understand that it will lead you to a place where you're trying to live a life without God. That's what perfection is. I'm going to live in such a way that I don't need God. It will take you there. That's what perfection will do. If you're committed to that, you're committed to finding a way to live without the presence of God in your life. And I don't know about you, but I have found that it is necessary for me as a parent, as a husband, as a leader, to have Jesus at the center of what I do, which means I've got to accept these weaknesses that I have. I've got to accept that there is a process of failure that I'm going to go through and that I'm going to learn from. And it would help if we could find a way to start communicating that to our youth. Listen, parents, find some opportunities to tell your students, your kids, about moments of failure in your life that didn't end with the failure. Help them understand that it's okay to go through that because it makes you stronger on the other side of it. You make better decisions. You're going to make wiser stuff. Don't students, I'm not saying go out and make mistakes so you can learn, right? You're going to do that just fine on your own. It's going to happen. Don't pursue it just to have it. But don't be afraid of this. Now, I want to go back. I want to go back to this example that we started with when I kind of went off on all of these tangents. This idea that I'm going to have to get a great GPA that's going to get me into the right college, that's going to get me the right job, that's going to get me happiness and success. And I want to tell you right now, the bottom of that thing is also all messed up. Because if you're counting on your job, your career, the money that you make, even the relationships that you have to give you your happiness and security, you're going to be disappointed. They don't do that. Your connection and relationship with God gives you that. And in the context of the roles that you end up with, you honor God by the way you choose to live, through your strengths and through your failures. So this whole thing is messed up. And yet, this is why this has become a problem. Can you understand that if you believe that I've got to have this perfect thing in order to have success and happiness in life, that if you fail a quiz, it could throw you into a tizzy because you just put your whole life at risk? It just doesn't work that way. I don't know if you know this or not. Just some reality into the moment. There was a study done that found that 27% of people are currently working in the major that they had in school. 27%. The rest went to school, got a degree, now they're doing something else. And you know what? They're fine. They're doing okay. I can recall one conversation about my GPA. Well, and I don't even know if it counts as a conversation. It was my first interview out of college. They told us to put it on the resume. I did. And how much of times have changed? Watch this. He said, a 3.2, not bad. That was all we ever said after that. You know why he said not bad? Because in school, I was working 2 to 3 jobs every semester. I was heavily involved with the volleyball team. I had all of these things that I had on. I was active in all kinds of stuff. And because of that, I had all of these things that I had developed and grown and learned as a person, and that was just one of them, and that was the last time I've ever had any conversation about my GPA. Is your GPA important? You should work at it with all your heart as unto the Lord, but it will not shape the outcome of your life like you think it will. In fact, there's some research on this, and if you want to go find it, it's there, that's suggesting that enough people have gone through the process of pursuing the perfect GPA. Like their whole soul has been into pursuing the perfect GPA. And you're going to have to be all-consuming to do that. And you're so consumed to get the best grades possible that they found that other skills went undeveloped. I wrote them down because the list was staggering to me. They found that these kids had less creativity, less leadership ability, less abilities with teamwork, social and emotional skills were all depleted because they had spent all of their effort to be perfect in one area. And it cost them. Work at it with all your heart. But don't you believe for a second that it holds the happiness to your life. That has to do with your connection to Jesus, period. How he walks you through the valleys and the peaks of your life, and the valleys and peaks will come. That's it. Number one driver, convinced of it. It's driving all kinds of people to have lives full of anxiety. Second driver, I would say they're related, like they are connected at the hip. The second driver, people are comparing their lives to other people. They're comparing their lives to other people. Paul addresses this in 2 Corinthians as well. A few chapters earlier, in chapter 10, this is verse 12, he says, "We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves." With some who are like, "I'm awesome. Compare yourself to me." By the way, he just described the whole Roman Empire. The whole Roman Empire was set up this way. It was about status. You did everything that you did so that people would know where you were at in terms of status and how I was better than you. And you just accepted it. Everybody just accepted, this is the stratus I'm in, and that's the way life is. And this comparing thing has come to our shores. Times have changed a great deal from the Roman Empire, but that's still around. And people are walking around comparing themselves to each other, which is weird because this is what Paul says in verse 13. He says, "We, however, will not boast beyond our proper limits, but will confine our boasting to the sphere of service God himself has assigned to us." A sphere that also includes you. He's talking to this church in Corinth. It appears that there is a place for you to say, "I'm pretty good at this." And it's not out of bounds. It's not wrong. Do you know where that sphere is? The things God placed in you to do that are unique to you. So that even while you're boasting about that, what you're talking about is how uniquely God made you. Look at what God did on my behalf. He made me to be this way in a specific way. And because of that, this is the person I've become and who I am. Instead, we waste our time comparing ourselves to other people and going, if only I could be like them. But God made you to be unique. You know what might be helpful? I think it might be of value to make sure that your kids know that they can't be good at everything. we've done this thing where we've tried to reward like effort equally across the board so that people will feel good. And it misses this idea that what God did was He created people to be different. He gave them different skills, different interests, different passions. And those get lost. They get lost because we compare, and they get lost because we're so afraid to try stuff because we can't be perfect. You know what's terrifying to me? There is a chance that the thing God put in your heart, this burning white passion that would give you life and make you excited to go and serve Him day after day, you'll never find it because you're so busy comparing yourself to other people or worried about perfection that you never even try. You go your whole life muted, a fraction of the person that God made you to be. Why? Because I can't do it like them. Who cares? Would you do it like you? Would you step up and be the person that God made you to be and stop comparing yourself to everybody else? It will steal your life. Paul said this to the church in Galatia too. Verse 4 of chapter 6. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing to someone else. See, as uncomfortable it gets repeated several times here. There is a place for some personal pride in your life. It's located in what God has done for you and how you're living your life for Him. You should be like, I'm excited to live this kind of life and to live this kind of way. Parents, make it your business to find out what God has put in your kids and fan that thing into flame. That's who they were meant to be. I've watched this happen. I don't understand why it happens. Parents, don't compare your kid to another one of your kids. Don't compare your kid to somebody else, a family friend. Don't start that. There's already enough temptation for them to do that on their own. Don't you introduce it into the ethos. Don't put it in there. Don't put it in their brain. Find a way to communicate to them. God made you unique. Let's find what that is and lean in. It's going to require work. It's going to require effort. But let's do this. Talk to them about this. Driver number 2. This comparing thing. Now, the last 2 drivers, I'm going to go real quick because this has been on my radar for a little while now, and I'm actually preparing a series in January where I'm going to go into some of this stuff in depth. I'm really surprised at some of the stuff that I'm finding. I think you're going to be shocked too. So I won't unload that all right here because I couldn't, even if I tried. But let me give you these 2 because I think they're worth talking about. When God said, I want you to take a Sabbath, I want you to rest, I want you to renew, I want you to pull back and find a way to reconnect with me, He said that to you because He was the creator of mankind and He knows the human condition. He knows that there is a rhythm to life that you have to be on, and if it's constant pace all the time, you will drive yourself to a state of anxiety. You weren't built to be that way. This is happening with a lot of students and kids right now, even young kids. They're going at a pace where it's never off. There's never a moment where they can breathe. I noticed something different a couple years ago. I was really surprised by it. Almost all of the volleyball girls would go and play some travel volleyball. And in years past, all of them did a full travel thing. But in the last 2 years, over and over again, only 2 out of all of the girls who were doing this did full travel. The other dude did a limited travel thing. And I was very curious, and so I would ask them, why are you making that choice? And I heard this over and over again. The pace of my life is too fast. I'm trying to find any way I can to slow things down. These are These are young ladies who are self-aware of the pace of life that they're in right now being unsustainable, and they're trying to find an exit ramp. They're trying to find a space in their life where they can do that. And sometimes well-meaning, good-intentioned parents keep kids going at a pace. But you should stop and reconsider if there's also a time for that rhythm to be off. Maybe there's a time for you as a family to catch up again. There definitely has to be a time for somebody to reconnect with God. You know what's weird about this whole thing? I have talked to people who are starting to say, hey, we are finding a way to rest. And the way we've done that is that we're going to stop going to church. That's how we're going to rest. Do you understand that part of God's idea, this idea of Sabbath, was to reconnect with Him because He's central to your life? He's central to your motivation for how you would live, for your desire not to compare yourself because He made you unique. He's central to who you are, and you have to reconnect with that on an ongoing basis, or it frays. You lose it. And so I think it's odd that for many people, their idea of Sabbath is to disconnect from even God Himself. I don't know what it is for your family. I'm going to talk about this more later in January. But you ought to have your eye on the pace of life because it's being addressed in all kinds of counseling rooms as one of the drivers of anxiety in our culture right now. And the fourth one, this one did not make it. This one did not make it on my list. This is the one that I saw get mentioned over and over and over, and it makes sense because it impacts all the others. Yes, band, if you would come forward, that would be great. I forgot. It impacts all the others. There is an unhealthy connection to our technology. It has the ability to put the need for perfection in front of your face all the time. You haven't got this done yet. You still need to correct this. And it's there. You're carrying it with you. Reminders of what you haven't accomplished yet and how you have to get that done. The ability to compare yourself with other people is right in your hand. All you have to do is pick up your feed and check it out, and you get to compare yourself with other people. And it's one of those weird things where there's no rhythm to it at all. There's no time away from it. It's always on. It always calls, and when it beeps, we run. Like, I could be missing something. They're actually diagnosing students right now with a condition that causes anxiety, and it happens if they're disconnected from their phone for a certain amount of time. I think it's under 2 hours. In the 2-hour range, they start having anxiety kind of attacks because they're away from the technology that they're connected to. Look, something's wrong. Students, can I just say this to you real quick? If your parents look into this stuff, or maybe they already have, and they've put boundaries in your life around technology, stop fighting them. They have your best interest at heart. There's all kinds of stuff out there that would suggest that there needs to be more boundaries, not less, with this stuff. And so if they're protecting you that way, stop fighting them and thinking that you're missing out on life. You are not. Trust them. Parents, if you haven't considered some boundaries, go look at the research and at least start having the conversation. I'm going to talk about it more in January. It's shocking to me what's happening and how it's happening and why it's happening. The why ticks me off, to be honest. But here's the bottom line. It is brutal out there. It's being brutal on all kinds of people. And the things that are driving it are a serious problem that could be addressed if your heart would lean into this Jesus who loves you, and you would start looking at things differently. Stop pursuing perfection. Instead, just work at it with all your heart. Stop worrying about comparing yourself to somebody else. Look at who God made you to be and be that. Find your gifts. Do what you have to. Put up these boundaries to protect your life. Listen to him when he says, listen, I need you to rest. I'm not making it up because it's old-fashioned. I'm telling you it because it's who you are. I created you to be this way. So I hope you'll think about that as the band comes and sings, and then we'll close.
Church, can we stand and worship together?
If love endured that ancient cross, how precious is my Savior's blood. The beauty of heaven wrapped in my shame, the image of love upon death's frame. If having my heart was worth the pain, what joy could you see beyond the grave? If love found my soul worth dying for, how wonderful, how glorious, my Savior's scars, victorious, my chains are gone, my debt is paid, from death to life, and grace to grace. Heaven now owns that vacant tomb. How great is the hope that lives in me. The passion that tore through hell like a rose. The promise that rolled back death and its stone. If freedom is worth the life you raised, no, where is my sin? Where is my shame? Oh, Jesus, love paid it all to have my heart. How wonderful, how glorious, my Savior's scars, victorious, my chains are gone, my debt is paid, from death to life, and grace to When I see that cross, I see freedom. When I see that grave, I'll see Jesus. And from death to life, I will sing your praise and the wonder of your grace. When I see that cross, I see freedom. When I see that grave, I'll see Jesus. And from death to life, I will sing your praise in the wonder of your grace. When I see that cross, I'll see freedom. When I see that grave, I'll see Jesus. And from death to life, I will sing your praise in the wonder of your grace. When I see that cross, I'll see freedom. death to life, I will sing your praise. In the wonder of your grace, how my soul will sing your praise. In the wonder of your grace, how my soul will sing your praise. How wonderful, how glorious, my Savior's God, victorious, my chains are gone, my debt is paid, from death to life, and grace to grace. When I see that cross, I see freedom. When I see that grave, I'll see Jesus. And from death to life, I will sing your praise. In the wonder of your grace. When I see that cross, I'll see freedom. When I see that grave, I'll see Jesus. And from death to life, I will sing your praise. In the wonder of your grace, how my soul will sing your praise. In the wonder of your grace, how my soul will sing your praise. How wonderful, how glorious, my Savior's scars, victorious, my chains are gone, my debt is paid, from death to life, and grace to grace.
No, when I was sitting in first service, I was really, really challenged by Blair and what he was saying. And I had a conversation with a couple during first service in the beginning of the service out there in the lookout hall. And one of the things that I was telling them that I feel like I've seen in our society and our world is the expectation of perfection continues to go up and the level of grace continues to go down. And that's a really scary thing when you think about it. It's like you got to be up here, everything's got to go well, everything's got to be perfect, whether it's your job or your family life or just how your life looks. Everything has to be perfect in the level of grace. And it's like, whoa, not a lot of room for error. And like we're seeing that across the board, whether it's like, I'm not going to get into politics, but cancel culture, all sorts of stuff when you think about it. I mean, but that's not just in like the news. That's in our own lives where we think like, man, we messed up. Like I'm just done. Like God's done with me. We almost like cancel ourselves. And it's really interesting. It's like, I love what Blair said. I mean, failures are an opportunity for us to continue to grow and actually, when you fail, it's amazing how you get to see God's grace. And I think the church is actually, we have a really unique opportunity to kind of redo this whole thing and say, like in our own communities and say, look, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a perfect friend. You don't have to be a perfect spouse. You don't have to be a perfect brother, sister, son, or daughter. We're just trying to honor God. And when we mess up, that's why we have to have people come around us and say, hey, like, how can we get this right now? How can we help you get this right? How can we hold you accountable? So I really like what Blair said, and I hope that as a community we can continue to just display grace. Like this idea of perfection up here and grace down here, we have to start making it like this again. And I think when we do that, I think we're going to see, I really think we'll see revival. I really do. But until that takes place, man, we're just going to be a society that continues to judge each other and continues to be hard on each other and not even help each other. I really hope that's not the path we choose and go down. So I just pray for you guys this week. I pray that God will continue to allow you to experience grace. Maybe you're walking through one of those imperfect situations right now. May you just go in peace. May you know that you're loved, and may we just do this together as a community, care for one another. So we're so grateful that you came here today to celebrate and spend a little time on what Jesus did for us. We love you. We hope you have a great day, great week, and be safe out there. Have a good day, guys.
break of day. In hope we rise, we speak your name. We lift our eyes, tune our hearts into your beat.